back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany and today I have a little book haul for you. I actually have had quite a few of you send me gifts semi-recently, and I have some that I've thrifted. So this isn't like a giant book haul, but my stack was getting larger and I'm like, I need to do a video because I'm so excited to talk about all these books. So I'm going to start with books that were so kindly gifted to me by some of you, and the first two books are books from Penny, and I'm so excited about these. Both of these are books that are about Charles Spurgeon and his wife. So this one is called Susie. I think they might both be by the same person. They are. They're both by Ray Rhodes Jr., who I don't know anything about him, but this one is the life and legacy of Susanna Spurgeon, who is the wife of Charles Spurgeon. And this one here, Yours Till Heaven, is the untold love story of Charles and Susie Spurgeon, which I'm just so excited about both of these. I really love Charles Spurgeon, and if you participated in our readathon last year that we did for Joy in Christ's Presence, then you know how much his writings have meant to me and just how wonderful that is. And I don't really know a whole lot about his wife. My husband does, but he's really interested in reading these as well. The next book was sent to me by Chrissy from Chrissy's Purple Library, and she sent me a copy of Martin Chuzzlewit, which is one of the few Dickens that I don't own. I have read this one, but I love it. In some ways, I consider it one of my favorites. So the last time I read it, I gave it 4 stars because Dickens does kind of go on some tangents, particularly some that seem like really anti-American, and I'm just like, all right, let's move on. Let's get back to the story. And most of the time I like Dickens' more meandering writing style. I understand that that's not for everyone because he is pretty verbose, but there were moments in this one where I struggled. However, it has some of the most memorable characters of any Dickens novel for me, and some of my favorite Dickens characters. So I'm like, it's still kind of a favorite, and kind of like in hindsight it feels like more of a 5-star, that I can overlook some of that stuff. And I want to reread it because it's been a few years since I've read it, to see if like kind of my rose-colored glasses makes the parts that I struggled with a bit more palatable. There's someone like right outside my house that is like has like a loud like lawn mowing, like the side of the road kind of a thing. So if you can hear that, I'm sorry, but now's when I have to film, so we're dealing with it. So another one of my subscribers, Amanda, so sweetly sent me these books when I had done my bookshelf tour and shown my James Herriot collection and how much I love James Herriot. She said that she had this like best of James Herriot that she wanted to send me, and she did, which was so sweet. This is so cool because I have a lot of James Herriot's writings, but this has like pictures and stuff in it. Oops, that's falling out. And then also, you know, like definitions of stuff on the side, which would be, I think, really helpful for Claire if she wants to read this, because it kind of explains different breeds of sheep and how different things worked, and things that Harriet would have known and people maybe in his time period might have known, but that aren't quite as instinctual of knowledge for us. So this was such a sweet and thoughtful gift. And then with that, she also included the Singer trilogy by Calvin Miller. So this is, I think it's middle grade, and it's poetry about like the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. I think it's allegorical, maybe. Yes, it's allegorical. So I was pretty sure it wasn't just like literally Jesus's name. So it is allegorical. I know that this is one of my friend Dia's favorites, and she had actually sent Claire a copy of the first book in this trilogy, and this is a bind up of all 3. So I'm super excited about this as well. So thank you so much, Amanda. All right, so now we're getting to the books that I have purchased. This one, actually, I didn't thrift. I had some Amazon returns and stuff, and so I had some credit in my account, and I ended up purchasing Son of Bitter Glass by K.B. Hoyle. I love K.B. Hoyle so much. Her writing is so good. This is a YA fairy tale retelling, I'm pretty sure, of Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen, and it's part of a series, but I don't think it's really so much a series. I haven't read this yet, so maybe it is, but I think it's just interconnected in that they are like retellings of fairy tales, not that the people in the stories are the same. But the first one that she wrote was Son of the Deep, which is a Little Mermaid retelling that's gender bent. So we've got a merman and then a human princess and their interactions. And that one was so good. I really loved that. I also read The Queen of Ebenezer by her, which is another YA novella. And then I loved Orion and the Starborn, which is the first in a trilogy that I really, really need her to write the other books in, like really soon, because I just loved Orion and the Starborn. That was a sci-fi middle grade. So everything I've read by her, I absolutely adored, and I'm so happy to get my hands on this. I don't know when I'm gonna have time to read it, but I really want to read it soon. These next couple of books were actually from the library. So I have the first Maisie Dobbs book, and my library has recently been culling their shelves, and they were getting rid of quite a few of the Maisie Dobbs books. And I don't really know what order these are in, or if you have to read them in order. If you know whether or not you have to read Maisie Dobbs in order, let me know, because I don't know if it's one of those things where it's like an overarching story, or if it's like Agatha Christie's where it's like you want to read the first ones, that way you kind of have a frame of reference of who these detectives are, and then from then they're just kind of individual stories rather than an interconnected overarching plot line. So the ones are Birds of a Feather, A Sunlit Weapon, and Pardonable Lies. So I don't even know what numbers in the series these are, but these were 25 cents each. And I'm like, well, I still haven't gotten around to reading Maisie Dobbs. But if I love them, then that's great. And if I don't, I paid 75 cents for all three. So it felt like there was very low risk. Also at my library book sale, I picked up The Personal Librarian by Marie Benedict. This is a book that was like a favorite book of the year of someone in our in-person book club. And so when I saw it for 25 cents, I'm like, I'm gonna pick this up. I don't know if I'll love it or not, because I am a little bit picky about historical fiction. And this is about the woman who I think she like curated somebody famous, JP Morgan's library. She was a Black American woman who was forced to pass as white to hide her identity, and she curated JP Morgan's library. So it sounds like it's just like a really fascinating aspect of history that I know nothing about. So I'm interested by it. The last little stack I have here are books that I did buy while thrifting, and I think all of these are from a place where it was fill a bag for $1, and there's 5 books here. So the first book that I have here, I have a couple of Penguin classics, but they're like the old Penguin classics. So I have Tom Jones by Henry Fielding, and I don't know anything about this. I see Henry Fielding around a lot here and there in like classic sections. I've never read anything by him, so I don't really know what this is about. I didn't even look. It said it's one of the first and finest English comic novels, so I didn't know his writing was more funny. So it's about Tom Jones' intrigues, amours, picturesque adventures, and how he pursues and wins the lovely and apparently unattainable Sophia Western. So I was interested by it. Then, shockingly, I feel like I should have read this. I've never read this. Paradise Lost by John Milton. I feel like everyone's read this, except me, and I need to read it. This is a poem about the Garden of Eden and the fall of man, in case you're like me and you haven't read it. But even if you haven't read it, you probably already knew what it was about. Then I found this Japanese book, The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. And I don't know much about it. I loved the cover of it. And the inside flap I read sounds very much like 50 First Dates, but not as funny. I don't know if you saw that Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore movie, but the first sentence in the inside flap says, he is a brilliant math professor with a peculiar problem. Ever since a traumatic head injury, he's lived with only 80 minutes of short-term memory. She's an astute young housekeeper with a 10-year-old son who's hired to care for him. So I just feel like it's probably got some romantic vibes, but like he can't remember her. And so that's just seems really, really fascinating. I have liked a lot of the Japanese literature that I've read. So this isn't one that I expected to see at a thrift store. So I'm really interested. If you've read this one, let me know if you liked it. Then I got Wuthering Heights. I love this edition. I don't own Wuthering Heights. I read Wuthering Heights once in high school and I hated it because I had just been told that it's like a sweeping gothic romance. And it's not. I was lied to. And the people who told me they loved it, they thought Heathcliff was dreamy. And I worry about them because he's not. That's like people loving Rhett Butler from Gone with the Wind. I'm like, are you okay? Like, why do we love these like sweeping romantic tales that are not sweeping and romantic? They're about really dysfunctional relationships. And we tend to romanticize those kinds of things in our society sometimes, and then wonder why people have really dysfunctional marriages, but that's okay. Anyways, I would like to reread this at some time because I feel like the writing's probably really beautiful. And if I go into this with the expectation that these are really unlikable people and it's a character study on like generational trauma and like bad relationships and that kind of stuff, I feel like I'll be able to see the literary merit more and enjoy it more in my 30s than I did in my teens. And lastly, I got The Mirror and the Light by Hilary Mantel. This, I think, is the third book in the Wolf Hall, the Cromwell series. Wolf Hall's the first book that she wrote. And I have Wolf Hall. I picked it up a while ago. I haven't read it yet. But since this was like fill a bag, what was it? Fill a bag for $1. There's 5 books here. And so I guess I would have paid less than 25 cents for this. And so as a result, I'm like, well, it's no harm to pick it up. And then I have the first book in the series. So hopefully I like the first book in the series, Wolf Hall. If I don't, then it was pointless for me to get this. But I couldn't pass it up for that price because my library does not have copies of this. And so I was just like, oh, well, finding it at this price, I have to snatch it up. And if I'm already getting a bag, I might as well throw another book in there. That's it for this little book haul. Thank you so much for the sweet people who sent books to me. I just really appreciate all of you. You didn't have to send me anything at all. And it was so funny too, because none of these were like for Christmas or for anything like that. It was no special occasion. It was just people just because. And as it happened, I received a lot of these books in January, and they all came at times when I was really struggling and there was like a lot of really difficult things happening in my personal life, and no one knew that who sent me books. And so like the Lord just used it as a little pick-me-up. So anytime that you send me any books, it is very greatly appreciated and I am so grateful. But I was especially grateful for these books that I received in this haul because they came at a time when I needed something to just cheer me up a little bit, and no one knew that who sent me books. And it was just so kind and generous and sweet of all of you. I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Is there any book that you have hauled recently that you're especially excited to read? And out of the books that are in this haul, are there any that either you think that I'll really love or that you're curious to hear my thoughts sooner rather than later? I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me, and I will see you again next time.